Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists. Hello, I'm Dango Rose, and this is the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. In this week's episode, we speak with Judd Kaufmann, owner of the Stage Stop in Rollinsville. He shares some of the stories he's heard about the ghostly encounters and folklore surrounding the historic location.
We hear this week's music mentions from Jamie Lammers, and special correspondent Maryann Rosen will share the third part of our 5-part supernatural story series for the month of October, leading up to Samhain and Halloween.
And for our final story, we talk to Cari Minor and Ray Smith from the musical duo Strangebyrds. They're going to talk about the release of their new album and personal inspiration behind the music.
But first, some news from your neighborhood.
The Mountaineer newspaper is headed into its 47th year of providing mountain news to the canyons and communities along the Peak to Peak. Did you know there is a full archive of every newspaper online? Go to themountaineer.com and follow the prompts to browse every issue from years past into the present day.
In local government, on September 27th, 2023, the Netherlands Planning Commission recommended a 6-month moratorium to be placed on all short-term rentals. The Board of Trustees voted on and passed the motion in favor of the moratorium with a 6-1 vote on October 3rd. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for October 25th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. and can be attended in person or online. For more information on this and future meetings, be sure to visit the Town of Nederland website at townofnederland.colorado.gov.
As we move into the cooler months and begin to turn up those heaters and light our cozy fires, make sure you take a moment to first check and maintain all of your equipment to ensure it is safe and in proper working order. Check and replace batteries if needed in both your fire detector and carbon monoxide detector. And be sure to double-check ventilation systems and clear those chimneys. Every year, more than 400 people die in carbon monoxide-related deaths due to a lack of ventilation. And home fires almost always double during the winter months.
The Eldora Mountain Resort is hiring for the 2023-24 winter season. If you're looking to join the snowbound team and to enjoy all the perks of working in Eldora's winter windy wonderland, apply online at eldora.com/jobs.
Read more local news and feature stories in print and online at themountaineer.com.
And that's it for this week's news briefs. If you have something to share, you can send requests for submission to info@themountaineer.com. As long as it meets our community standards, we'll be sure to include it in a future episode. Brightwood Music has been serving the Peak to Peak region and beyond since opening in 2008. The full-service music store offers new and used instruments and will even repair the ones you've got. Go ahead and check them out on Facebook at Brightwood Music. Brightwood Music is the best music store with altitude across the Peak to Peak. Now for our lead story, we hear from Judd Kaufmann, proprietor of the Stage Stop in Rollinsville. He shares a few haunted tales as well as some local folklore surrounding the historic building.
Hi, Judd. Can you begin by introducing yourself?
My name is Judd Kaufmann, and I am the current person who owns the Stage Stop building more than anyone else.
And since owning one of the oldest structures in Colorado, you said there have been quite a few stories that have come with that.
So many ghost stories. I've been told many ghost stories by many local folk. I'll give you the lowdown of the most popular ghost story from people who worked at the Stage Stop, the most recent incarnation mainly, but also some of the previous incarnations as well. And a lot of people have talked about this particular ghost. His name is Tom. Legend has it that he died in the basement, either by his own hand, or the story I like better was in a shootout with the revenuers during Prohibition. I don't know which one of those is true, if either, but I feel like, it could be either. I did meet at one point, while I was tending bar, someone who claimed that his grandfather was Tom and that he committed suicide in the basement of the Stage Stop. So take, that information for what you will. Then the stories. Tom apparently was kind of a Wild West sort of man who enjoyed drinking his whiskey. And apparently he came into embodiment to people, like patrons at times and after hours people who worked there and things like that. And apparently he could get quite surly until they figured out, oh, hey, we should leave a shot of whiskey out at the end of the bar after each shift at the end of the day. And then miraculously it was empty the next morning each time. And apparently he became significantly more friendly with this gesture of goodwill and friendship amongst beings, paranormal and, also not quite normal. So, yeah, that's the biggest story. What did he look like? He looked like a typical Wild Western, guy.
So do you have any firsthand experiences yourself?
So I'll just say I am not particularly tuned to the paranormal dimensions, I don't think. However, there was one night shortly after we purchased the Stage Stop when I was embarking down the stairs that went from the first level to the basement. And something caught my eye, and I had a very strange feeling, like goose flesh and all of that, and kind of just stomach in my throat. And, there was some sort of movement and just this feeling. And I paused and was like, oh, maybe that was one of those ghosts. And I felt like kind of terror a little bit. And then it passed, and I went on with what I was doing. And that is as close as I have come to an actual ghost encounter anywhere.
And did you have any other stories to share with us?
I've heard about 2 other ghosts at the Stage Stop. One being a small child who would play with other children while they were there. A small girl in a dress. And then the other one was a young lady who usually would be seen going up and down the stairs between the first level and the second level. Which is funny because those stairs weren't very old. I think they were put in maybe in the 70s or the 80s. 1970s or 80s, that is. But anyway, so people say that she would go up and down the stairs and would be like looking for something, but that she would also drop pennies. And I will say, I did find a lot of pennies on the floor at the Stage Stop, including a couple like after we had already gone through it and cleaned everything. I was like, wow, how did pennies get here? Maybe that ghost is real, but I don't know. It's easy to miss a penny in a 7,200 square foot building. And I also had a friend Parker Rowe. He brought his ghost hunting gear out one night, and very late at night we went all through the stage stop and we got some very intriguing signals, but nothing came to play. Nothing came out to interact with us directly, but according to my friend, he was, well versed in these sort of things. There were some very strong signals that were indicating the presence of multiple entities.
Thank you, Judd. That is spooky indeed. In case you haven't heard, the Haunted Stage Stop is open and has been listed as one of the top 5 haunted houses to check out this October. You still have a chance to go and visit the Supernatural before they close for the season. Go online to thehauntedstagestop.com to learn more.
Out on the road, endless fields grow, where no one knows, but everybody's wondering, where does it go? The wind that blows, where from does it come? How everybody's wondering.
Now we go to correspondent Jamie Lammers, who will be delivering this week's Music Mentions.
And now for this week's Music Mentions. Every Wednesday at 9 p.m., the Diner Bar Ned hosts a karaoke night. Be sure to head there at 121 North Jefferson Street in Nederland to check them out for yourself. Head to the Gold Hill Inn, located at 401 Main Street in Gold Hill, on Friday, October 20th at 8 p.m. to see the Matt Skinner Band performing live, and on Sunday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. to see Lundy Night Trio performing live. Head to Halloween Brewing, located at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville, on Friday, October 20th at 8:30 p.m. to see BKLZ performing live, and on Saturday, October 21st at 5 p.m. to see Dakota Gray Band performing live. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown, on Wednesday, October 18th at 5 p.m. to see an open mic night, on Thursday, October 19th at 7 p.m. to see Mr. Mike Unplugged, and on Friday, October 20th at 7 p.m. to see Free Range Marmot performing live. Head to JKQ Barbecue, located at 200 Gregory Street in Blackhawk, on Friday, October 20th at 6 p.m. and on Saturday, October 21st at 5 p.m. to see John Ridnell performing live. Every Sunday at 5 p.m., the Knotted Root Brewing hosts Jazz Sundays. Be sure to head there at 250 North Faribault Street in Nederland to check them out for yourself. Most Sundays at 4 p.m., the Millside Inn hosts an open jam. Be sure to head there at 44365 Highway 72 in Ward to check it out for yourself. Head to the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland, on Friday, October 20th to see Start Making Sense, Talking Heads tribute. Doors open at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. Head to the Train Cars Coffee and Kava, located at 101 Highway 119 in Nederland, on Friday, October 20th at 6 p.m. for an open mic night, and on Saturday, October 21st at 8 p.m. to see Gratefully Acoustic Duo performing live. And finally, head to the Very Nice Brewing Company, located at 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in Nederland, on Friday, October 20th at 6 p.m. to see Jackson Maloney performing live, and on Saturday, October 21st at 5 p.m. to see Wendy Pines performing live. Did we miss you or your performances? Want to submit your music listing in the Peaks Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountain Ear.
Thank you, Jamie. Now let's drop in with special correspondent Maryann Rosen, who shares the third part of our 5-part supernatural story series for the month of October, leading up to Samhain and Halloween.
Mysterious and eerie creatures are not relegated to only the spooky, haunted places on the surface. This week, we will go underground into the mines of Colorado. Mining is an ancient profession involving backbreaking work and dangers in the dark underground. Both Gilpin and Boulder counties grew in the mid-19th century when gold and other minerals were discovered. Central City was one of Colorado's first mining towns and became known as the richest square mile on earth. Many other mining camps sprung up in Gilpin County, including Blackhawk and Nevadaville. In Boulder County, Gold Hill was the site of one of the first major gold discoveries. Ward was one of the oldest and longest-lasting camps, and Nederland had gold mines, but was also part of the big tungsten boom in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. At the same time as mines were flourishing in Colorado, mines in certain areas of the UK were winding down. Cornwall is a small peninsula at the southwest tip of England. It was home to what were considered the finest hard rock miners in the world. When the mines in Cornwall ceased to be economical, Cornish miners left for other countries, including the United States, where many were attracted to Colorado. They came and helped strengthen the state's mining economy. A lot of the Cornish miners settled in the Peak to Peak region. But they did not come alone. With them came strange, uncanny spirits called Tommyknockers. These knockers were greatly feared, and according to legend, they were mostly believed to be the ghosts of dead miners. Others, though, believed Tommyknockers were the souls of Jewish slaves brought to the mines of Cornwall during the Iron Age by the Romans, and there worked and perished in the mines. Those who held this idea had their opinions reinforced by the fact that knockers were supposedly never heard on Saturdays or Jewish holidays. Whatever you believe as to who these phantoms were, everyone believed that these maybe mythical creatures lived in underground dark tunnels and what they looked like. Tommyknockers were big-headed, small-eyed, wide-mouthed, evil specters who stood about 2 feet tall and wore tiny miner's boots and colorful shirts. They could vanish in a puff of smoke, which was good because only ominous things would happen if you caught a glimpse of them. Tommyknockers committed both good and bad deeds and would also play practical jokes and carry out random acts of mischief, such as stealing tools and food. Although unseen, knockers were said to perform many of the mining duties, working right alongside the men. Tommyknockers, called that for the small hammers and picks that they used to knock on the mine walls in order to torment the miners, were blamed for all of the creaks, drips, groans, knocks, and other sounds heard in the mines, as well as cave-ins and mine explosions. Miners believed that knockers could be for or against you, depending on how you treated them. Some miners tried to be nice to the Tommyknockers. Offerings of lunch were left. Miners avoided whistling while they worked because it bothered the knockers. Small clay figures of spirits were made and left in order to appease these eerie sprites. The Tommyknockers were spoken about in positive terms. Miners believed that being nice may result in the knockers helping you to find the mother lode, or in warning you away from a dangerous cave-in or accident. Not doing any of the aforementioned was believed to be bad luck and could engender missing tools, dry holes, cave-ins, explosions, or other deadly accidents. It was said that if you heard a Tommyknocker, it was best to leave the mine promptly, with many also believing that the first man to hear the sounds was jinxed. In some mines, where the knocker's presence was known, miners would force the pits to close by refusing to go underground for fear of these spirits. An interesting example of what these miners were up against with these goblins is the following anecdote. told about the Tommyknockers and a miner named Eddie, although this tale is of a more personal nature. Eddie became the target of the knockers, who drove him crazy, pelting him with stones, stealing his tools, and blowing out his lantern. He was unsure of why he was being targeted until he heard a knocker asking him to return $5. It was his old friend Joe, who had died in a mining accident and from whom he had borrowed that $5 and never returned it. He saw Joe's ghost, who was now a 2-foot elf with a big ugly head, large ears, a crooked nose, and wearing a peaked cap, leather jacket, and mining boots. Extremely nervous about this encounter and having now seen a Tommyknocker, the very frightened Eddie brought $5 to the mine to pay Joe back. No one, though, knows what ended up happening to Eddie, as it is well known that if one saw a knocker, you ended up in an accident or dead. Some believe that Tommyknockers are still present in Colorado mines today. There have been multiple experiences of people currently working, hearing their names being whispered in the diggings. Whether you believe or not, if you ever find yourself in a mine, let's hope you do not hear a Tommyknocker, or even more so, that you never see one. Next week, we come back up to the Earth's surface to explore haunted happenings along the peak to peak.
Storytellers, fable makers, and ghost town enthusiasts. We ask you now to share your stories of encounters with the supernatural kind. Do you have a spooky story you want to share? Have you encountered ghosts of gold diggers past, a Bigfoot, or maybe a Tommyknocker? Well, we want to hear all about it. Go to www.themountaineer.com and follow the prompt, October Listener Tales, and share your supernatural story today.
That was a piece of Roll with the Wind, one of the songs featured on the album Shrieking Violets. Now, for our final segment, Dango speaks with Cari Minor and Ray Smith of the musical duo Strangebyrds. They talk about the new album and the harrowing journey that inspired its creation.
Hello, friends. So let's start by having you both introduce yourself to our listeners.
I'm Cari Minor.
And I'm Ray Smith. And we are Strangebyrds.
Music duo, yeah.
And the two of you have known each other for quite some time before forming what we now know as the Strangebyrds.
Well, Ray and I have known each other 24 years. We met at Rocky Mountain Song School, but we've been performing...
In 1999.
Yeah, but we've been performing at Strangebyrds since 2011. So 12 years this year.
Yeah, 12 years in this incarnation.
Yeah.
You know, we've played all over the area. We play all over the Front Range, and we travel sometimes too.
And we tour.
And this will be our 6th album coming out.
Yeah, number 6.
For anyone not familiar with Strangebyrds, how would you describe your music? And if you could, please tell us about the new album.
Normally we are called Blue Collar Folk Americana. And this album kind of segued into a whole new genre for us. Ray was diagnosed with stage 3+ cancer last
Prostate
year,
cancer.
a year ago. And in the process of undergoing pretty aggressive cancer treatments, he started writing rock material. And so we had already thought about writing a rock album. We both grew up in that era, of Led Zeppelin and The Who and, all these bands that kind of formed us. And
pioneered the rock scene,
So we threw ourselves with great passion into writing this new album. And then we talked about, a title for it. And we were kind of driving, I think, to the ski hill and kind of joking about how we could not be shrinking violets to deal with this cancer. And we definitely couldn't be shrinking violets to make a rock album. So what's the opposite? Well, it's shrieking violets. So the album is called Shrieking Violets.
That's right.
It's 12 brand new Strangebyrds songs written in just over a year from our last release, our highly recognized release, Highway Islands, that we released in May of 2022. It's the quickest we've ever done a turnaround.
Yeah. 4 days later, I was diagnosed, and
after our album release for the Highway Islands.
And so the way we deal with most things is we write music about it and sing it for people.
Yeah.
So that's how this started to come about, and again, we usually do an album every 2 years, so this was really a ramped up effort.
So by expanding now more into the genre of rock, will you be bringing in other players to join you for this weekend's album release show?
Yeah, and it'll only be selective shows that we bring the whole band. We will still predominantly be playing just as a duo with our acoustic guitar and bazookies and, the things that we bring to shows.
Yeah.
But this will be a different show for sure.
It's kind of like, Nick Forrester when he was, he had the two different bands that come out as one and then they come out as Red Knuckles and the Trailblazers, Only not country or bluegrass. It's definitely rock and roll.
Yeah, we're taking on a completely different sort of sound. And
it's been really fun, I got to say. And to be in a full band. We've got a really nice band put together for the show. And we have a couple more rock and roll shows booked after this one. But we want to focus on this one because
this one's the big one.
It's going to be at E-Town Hall in Boulder, and it's going to be in partnership with UC Health Long Speak Hospital Foundation, and we're going to be kicking back a portion of each ticket to cancer care patients who have been on a similar journey that we've been on, and the fund goes directly to the patients. There's no money going up to administration.
In the form of gas cards and food cards, and they'll pay an electric bill. They'll put you up in a hotel if you're having a hard time.
Yeah, it's a really nice, beautiful fund.
Yeah, it goes straight in, no administrative fees.
Yeah.
So Ray, would you be open to sharing an update on how your journey has been? And are you feeling better these days?
Yeah, I've felt pretty good throughout the whole process. Just and a lot of that was sort of propelled by this project that we've been working on, because it's required what we would normally do in 2 years, we did it in a year. So writing 12 songs, figuring out the production, recording them, sometimes multiple times. And but I generally have felt pretty good. I mean, I get a little more tired than I would expect to, but this drug I'm taking should be wearing off in October, which is another sort of angle on the celebration for me, for sure, is that it's truly the end of this journey, of the cancer journey. Hopefully, I mean, it could come back. They're going to check me every 3 months, but this drug I'm taking will wear off in October, or start to wear off. So I've hot flashes. Mainly just sort of annoying things, and if it's saving my life, I can't really complain about it. So instead, I wrote about it.
Yeah, and then he also got to quit treatment a year earlier than what they thought he would, because he's done so well.
Yeah.
So
I'm good.
Yeah.
And, UC Health liked our story right from the start, in that we had a positive view of what was in front of us and how we were going to deal with it.
and they did a piece on us right off the bat in their newsletter. And then they're going to help with promotion for this show, too.
Yeah.
So you do believe in the healing power of music?
Yeah, I mean, I really felt as though finding something positive to do with your energy, because if you're a shrinking violet, then you retreat, and I feel like with cancer, you really have to, you have to be at the head of the charge and find something positive to focus on that's outside of the cancer thing. If it's something that you already do, you love to hike or bike or ski or whatever, it's, I think passions are really important. And, sometimes it's harder to pursue them when you're going through the throes of the side effects of things. But, if you're motivated enough, then you do it anyway. And it helps, outside of that, I don't know, it's always going to depend on people's lives and what level of cancer they have. I've met so many men now and women with breast cancer, because we talk about it at our shows, because some of our songs, they don't talk directly about it, but we like to give people an idea where a song came from, what the inspiration was. So people always come up at the end of the show and introduce themselves and tell me about their cancer journey. And it's been really touching and really cool. It's mostly been a positive experience because you are healing, you're getting better. So that's positive. Focusing on the positive, I think, is the way to go.
And the other little thing I want to mention is that Ray hadn't had a physical in a bunch of years, and so he went in just for a routine physical with no symptoms.
I felt fine. I went in there at Cari's request to just get a baseline, and I was like, I'm going to be the healthiest guy they've ever seen. And then I came out with, prostate cancer, AFib, sleep apnea. So I'm dealing with one thing at a time, and obviously cancer goes to the top of the list. But again, I'm doing really well with that. And, we've just performed and created our way through the process, because it can be really stressful. And so getting your mind on other things is really, I think, important.
Beyond the music, being there for each other and staying open and positive has also made a big difference in your healing journey.
Cari has been an amazing caregiver to me. And that is the other key thing, because when you're in it, it's really hard to hear all the stuff that they're telling you when you go to these, group meetings with caregivers, radiologists, oncologists, blah, blah, blah. So having a caregiver that is really on your side and with you through all that stuff was like unbelievable. She was able to negotiate the medical system and decide when maybe a doctor was maybe not the best guy to go with. And she did the research looking for other doctors. And I couldn't do any of that. I've never been good at that anyway, but being caught up in it, you tend to focus on your own stuff. And so caregiver Cari was unbelievable. And that's really important. Yeah, that's your new name. Okay, caregiver Cari.
I'm rocking Cari. Yeah. Yeah, and what I want to say, too, the whole other side of this, because we did go public last November, we sent out a MailChimp campaign to just over 1,000 people, just a Front Range, a few in Ireland and on the East Coast and in the Midwest where we tour. And it has been really good to be vulnerable with this and to talk about our journey in a vulnerable way. And what has happened is not only have men and women come forward after our shows to let us know, how thankful and touched they are, but I've also had several women whose husbands are going through prostate cancer treatment, some stage 2, some stage 4, where it's spread all over their bodies, and reach out to me for just to lean on someone and to talk to someone and to dialogue with someone. And it's been such a gift because I feel like breast cancer deservedly gets a lot of attention and a lot of press. And I feel like prostate cancer is a way more private cancer for men, like they're not able to be as open, and then their wives can be quieter. And so by saying it's okay to talk about it and to raise awareness has been nothing but a really beautiful path. We've met some really, really cool people through this and have been very, very inspired.
And we just felt compelled to be honest about it just because our music is very honest. It's about us. It's about people we know. It's about people that inspire us, people we've read about. Our music is a representation of our lives, really.
Yeah.
Thank you both for sharing your story of music and healing with us. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go?
And I should definitely mention on this podcast that to buy tickets to this event, Shrieking Violet's album debut at E-Town Hall, you need to go to our website, www.strangebyrds, all one word, STRANGEBYRDS.com. And the ticket link is at the top of the homepage. Because this is a private rental, we are doing all the promotion for it ourselves.
It's open to the public.
But it is a open to the public party celebration. So.
Thank you both so much for sharing this incredible story with us. If you want to find out more about Cari and Ray and the Strangebyrds, you can also go online to www.strangebyrds.com to hear more of their music and buy tickets to this weekend's album debut party.
The way to how the sparrow knows through the days they flow, how everybody's wondering what has seen these skies below, up high, what the skies have seen, remembering a beginning.
That concludes this week's episode of the Mountain Air Podcast, where everybody's listening.
Visit our website at www.themountaineer.com to read more information about today's guests. Pick up a copy of this week's print edition of The Mountaineer at newsstands all across the Peak to Peak. I'm Dango Rose.
And I'm Cynthia Davis. Thank you for listening.
You name it, we got it.
Up here in the mountains, things are weird.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.